This half hour, we'll spend a few minutes with the Battle Creek City Planner, Christine Zuzga. We're going to talk a little bit about a proposal that city commissioners will take a first look at next week regarding urban farm animals. We'll try and understand that right now. Hi, Christine.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Get right up close to that so we hear you nice and loud. All right, there we go. Okay. So this is interesting. You know, this has become something that's becoming more and more prominent. I've met folks and know folks who have chickens and things like that. More people are interested in this in an urban setting.
Definitely. We've actually had requests 5 years ago wanting people wanting chickens and wanting our ordinance to potentially be changed. At that time, there didn't seem to be enough support to really consider having the staff time pursue that. But this last year, we've had increasingly more requests for it, and it's becoming more commonplace in different cities. So we wanted to take a look at it.
All right. So what is the ordinance now? I mean, what are we allowed to do now?
The only place that you can have any type of livestock would be in an ag zoning district, an agriculture zoning district, or rural residential. And those are limited to the south end of the city.
Okay. So not much of that is in the city limits.
Well, they're in the city limits, but not in the urban core.
Yeah.
So
right.
South of Beckley, primarily.
Okay. And so now the proposal that city commissioners will look at this coming week changes it how?
So it would allow for limited urban livestock on residential properties. You have to live at the property where you keep your animals, so it can't be a vacant property, and it's only for single-family or two-family residential. Okay. So apartment complexes or 3 units or more wouldn't be able to keep the animals. That you would be able to have either rabbits, hens, no roosters, they would be prohibited.
A little loud, yeah.
Yes. Dwarf goats or miniature goats, and potentially honeybees. And then it's all based on parcel size for the different types of animals that you might want to be able to have.
Very interesting. So we'll talk about where this stands. This is a workshop session that the city commissioners will review this particular proposal as it stands, which means they won't be voting on it yet. It'll be a learning session. So we'll talk a little bit more about what the track might be for this coming up in just a few minutes on 95.3 WBCK. We're here with Christine Zuzga, Battle Creek City Planner. Coming up next week, city commissioners in Battle Creek will review it. First look, a proposal to allow urban farm animals in the city core, which is not permitted as of this time, but obviously there's interest in this. I don't know where that interest suddenly came from. Maybe it was all those little goat videos on Facebook. Little baby goats jumping around, they're so happy.
Quite possibly.
Maybe that's it. No, really, there's more to it than that. People have an interest in having some of their food and other things available in something of an agriculture setting in their own yards.
Absolutely. And a lot of areas of the city don't have good access for fresh food, and so this would allow them to have that potential.
What are some of the reasons that you've heard that people do want to do this? I mean, if they're passionate about it, what's behind that?
I think, like I said, food accessibility, being able to provide for themselves and their family without having to go to the store, especially if they don't have easy access to get to a store. They can guarantee the type of food that they're feeding the animals, and so that results in better end product rather than not knowing really where the food would come from if you go to the store to buy it.
All right, fair enough. So this is a work session that is commissioners are going to look at this the way it is, and we presume provide feedback. There's potential that some of this could get changed before it's adopted. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah. The process in the draft ordinance that we have now has come out of the last year and a half of research and community engagement efforts. And so we've tried to incorporate all of those comments, including concerns, into the ordinance to try to address all of those different things. But certainly things could change after the workshop on Tuesday.
Right. What have some of the concerns been?
Noise, odor. They didn't want chickens right up next to their backyard or by their house. In the ordinance, we have setback requirements for enclosures and things like that, too. So try to mitigate some of those concerns.
Right. So how would the city go about enforcing that? I mean, is somebody going to have to come and inspect? How does that work?
It's going to be a joint effort between planning department and animal control. Initially, we're proposing, you would need a zoning permit to construct the enclosure in the coop or the structure, which you would need that anyway from a city standpoint. So they would have to get the permit through planning and zoning and then get a license for the chickens. And then zoning would go out to inspect to make sure everything is compliant with the ordinance.
Okay.
And then certain complaints would probably go to animal control. But initially it all come through our department.
Right. There has to be this kind of structure, doesn't there? I mean, when you're living in an urban core, it's not like an agriculture situation, a farming situation where, there's a vast amount of land and sound doesn't travel as readily in these cases. It's different.
Definitely. And the way the ordinance is structured is that the smaller the parcel, the fewer the animals that you can actually have.
Okay.
So the larger the parcel. For example, we talk about goats. We require you have to have 2 goats because from a social and environmental standpoint, that's better to have at least 2 goats that you need an acre for. So, I mean, that limits the amount of properties that can have goats in their neighborhood, for example. Or, the minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet, and they would be allowed 2 chickens.
Okay.
So it's not a free-for-all. It is limited with a number of animals that they could have.
Well, and if you have baby goats, they have to stand on each other's backs at some point. If you've seen those videos on Facebook, they have to, it's a joke. But anyway, I understand there is some a sense made out of that compatibility and companionship is important there in those cases. So did you have to research how other cities do this? I mean, there must be some templates out there you could look at.
There are quite a few. Sprout actually commissioned a study for Battle Creek, a local policy and a sample ordinance. We also took a look at 15 other communities throughout the state that are similar in size or demographics to Battle Creek to see if they allowed for chickens. If they did, we made contact with each of them. I would probably say 10 of the 15 had ordinances that allow them, and there were really no complaints from any of the communities. They didn't have any significant problems as a result of allowing limited livestock.
Wow, that's encouraging. All right, we'll talk more about that in just a moment on 95.3 WBCK. Christine Zuzga's here, city planner in Battle Creek. Commissioners are going to look over a proposal for an ordinance adjustment to allow some urban farm animals in town. We'll discuss that more in just a moment. 95.3 WBCK, we're here with the city planner in Battle Creek, Christine Zuzga. It's next week that city commissioners will get the first look at an urban farm animals proposal that could end up in an ordinance update and then allow some urban farm animals in the city core. So it looks as though a lot of the legwork that you undertook really does try and address some of the potential challenges with this sort of thing. I presume that you heard from folks in the community about it.
Absolutely. We have been working for the past year. We kicked it off with a city commission workshop to present the local policy and sample ordinance to try to get their feedback. There's certainly interest in us exploring the issue further. We've held 2 public roundtables last summer, and we had over 150 people for both of those come.
Oh my!
Combined to get some feedback, and then we also did a Survey Monkey last June. We had over 400 responses to that. We also did a concern survey in September, which was basically, if you're opposed to this, why? What are the concerns? If we did allow it and you had to live with something, what could you live with? And what type of regulations would you like to see imposed? And so it was kind of not to try to be negative, but it was to try to eke out some of those different concerns that we could try to hopefully address in an ordinance.
And you feel you did that?
We did the best we could.
Okay.
Certainly.
So this workshop next week, city commissioners will get a look at this. If there's suggestions for changes, I presume that bubbles to the top at that time.
Absolutely. And there is opportunity for public comment at the workshop. But we released the draft ordinance online this week, and so it's available for review, and anybody can send myself an email or any of the commissioners an email if they have any other concerns. Okay, that's on the city website then? Okay, easy to find, by the way. You don't even have to try and figure out, is it cityofbattlecreek.org, whatever. Just type City of Battle Creek in your search engine, and that baby comes up nice and easy, and you'll find that there.
So we presume then if there's changes, they would come into play in a discussion forum. What's your target for seeing this thing passed? Do you have a time frame?
We don't. It'd be nice if it is going to pass, if it could pass sooner than later, so that way people could try to do some stuff for the summer.
Yeah.
But it's part of the overall animal ordinance that is also being looked at right now, and so that is close to being done. And I expect that instead of going through the process twice, we'll wait until that is completed. So.
Okay.
And that's a city attorney's project, so I can't speak to the deadline.
Right. All right. Well, take a look at that, the City of Battle Creek website. And if you have concerns or questions, as Christine said, you can just send her an email, and that would get a response, or maybe call your office if they want to.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And get those questions answered. What's the number down in the planning office?
It's 966-3320. And we also, on the planning website page of the City of Battle Creek, we have all of the summaries of all of our roundtables and surveys and City Commission workshops that we've had, as well as the Sprout proposal. So that's
folks,
all available.
Folks can dive right into that if they want to read up on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, Christine, thanks for the update. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Christine Zuzga is the city planner in Battle Creek.